What's good? What's good? It's STORMYBMAN, and I am on the move. Salute to everybody out there this morning. Hope you are blessed and rising in favor as we start a new day. Wanted to come with an early morning live just to talk a little bit about the upcoming fight this Saturday, September 13th, from Allegiant Stadium, where Saul Canelo Alvarez is taking on Terrence Bud Crawford, defending his 168-pound undisputed title. There's a lot of back and forth with this about, people's position and perspective on who they think is going to win. One of the things that I wanted to address as we talk about this morning is the fact that the cliches do not apply when you have the top quality fighters out there, when you have the so-called elite. I don't like to use that term a lot because elite, when you look up the definition of that word and you try to utilize it in the application with boxing, we're not seeing a lot of the elite of what the sport has these days, whether it's the fighters haven't tapped into their true potentials, never had the real ability to reach perceived potential, or even if the fighters don't have the desire for fulfilling proposed potential. You see, a lot of that has to factor in. And I don't think enough people are looking at the sport that way. A number of fighters today are opportunists. They will take the opportunity to do what they call now the snatch and grab, when it comes to various platforms, promoters out there who are willing to just kind of throw bags of money for particular reasons. I'm not going to get into all of that. That's a political platform of, you could do shows with panels and everything on that subject. But these two men are class. They're class from their divisions. And that's a term I like to use, class, because they are well represented, totally settled in to their positions with their talents, abilities, and the experiences that they bring to the table. So, in that respect, they are two who are of the same era, albeit from different weight classes, and now are coming together to test their wares against one another. And that's fine. That's fine. But what I would like to see is, after this, going forward, other fighters take their lead. Fighters that are in the same divisions and weight classes. Face one another. Face your contemporaries. Square off against your colleagues. We need to see that. We need to see that. That is what's going to fortify the sport. That, along with proper rematches. Because when we get bad decisions, rematches are sometimes in order, but also bad decisions give certain fighters false confidence to not go back to the lab, not try to improve and get better, try to check and see what they did wrong the first time around so they can correct things or improve. Just giving away these gift decisions and certain auspices, it puts fighters in a false realm of confidence. But it also damages them to a degree that they feel like maybe they might not want to face an opponent that gave them that challenge of something being so close in the area of competitiveness. So they kind of like circle away from that. We want to see the best of the sport, but we can't see the best of the sport with the worst things still being allowed to take place. When Crawford gets into the ring against CANELO, the consensus and a great deal swell of opinion is that he being the smaller man, there's a chance for this to not go very well for him because CANELO has fought at 168 much longer. Crawford has never fought at 168. And that common sense should tell you that Bud is going in against a bigger man, and the bigger man should pretty much do away with him. I just finished listening to a broadcast hosted by the gentleman over there in the UK, Ade Oladipo, and he and his partner were talking about this fight, and there was a great deal of being dismissive about Crawford's chances to win. I can understand a person taking such a strong position like that, like those two men were doing, but you always leave a window of opportunity for history to be made. And see, that's one of the things that, again, when I talk about the sport, talk about the mixes and matches and the X's and O's and the matchups, you leave a window for something to transpire that was unforeseen. They did none of that. Now they would hedge and say, oh yeah, this guy, he didn't look good in his last fight or whatever. But then they'll say, well, Crawford didn't look good against Madrimov. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, because Crawford beat Madrimov, beat him solidly, and took the man's title in a fight where, if the fight were close, Madrimov's people should have edged him on to say, hey, we really need these rounds. We really need a knockdown. We need something, because this is Terrence Bud Crawford. He's the fighter with the name and the luster. We need you to go in there and show that you're the champ and take it to him. Okay, they didn't add those type of intangible items to their conversation. But when I last checked CANELO's most recent fight against William Scholl, he didn't look too good either, did he? He looked like he couldn't cut the ring off. He looked like he was hesitant to pull the trigger against Scholl. And he looked like he was unmotivated and things of that nature, but their talking points didn't bring that out. So it looks heavily unbalanced. Remember, we're talking about class fighters. We're not just talking about another contender going in against CANELO. Because if you do want to speak in that regard, CANELO has not faced David Benavidez, who was his #1 contender for a number of years while Terrence Bud Crawford was campaigning at 147. David Benavidez was right there, and no one made him face CANELO. And you guys are not bringing that up. You see, you have to have full disclosure, or the term they like to use nowadays, transparency. Yeah. That's what's required. If you're going to talk about it. Then you bring in the sanctioning bodies. And the fact that we have presidents and CEOs of these sanctioning bodies who pick and choose when they want to strip fighters, when they want to put mandatory responsibilities on them, when they want to omit someone's status, when they want to bring a retired fighter to leapfrog against everyone who's been in contention to get a title shot for a belt that they haven't earned. The corruption of the sport. Why you're not talking about it? You see, these are the factors that they do contribute to what you're looking at. Want to say good morning to the people we have in the chat this morning. Grand rising to you all. We've got Del Dariv out there, Eric Jordan, TC, Stephen L. the Mac. What's going on, fellas? Good morning to you. Grand rising. Just a quick pop-up live on my way to the grind this morning. It just felt like I needed to reiterate some points and bring out some other considerations, because we hear so much, and some of these guys, they have access to fighters and their camps and their trainers and all of that. That's fine, but it also speaks volumes about how you want to continue to have the access by blowing smoke to the public. I don't care about that access, man. These guys won't be here 5 years from now. There'll be a whole new crop. And that's a whole lot more of lip gloss that these content creators will have to buy to start trying to build up and kiss up to the next wave of fighters, next generation. I'm not doing that. If I'm still here 5 years from now, I'm going to be telling the truth just like I'm doing now. Bringing out factual information. Facts are not debatable. It's what you put out there for the knowledge of what's actual and truth. But we're seeing so much of the smoke blowing. It's ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. Yeah, Stephen L., the lip gloss, man. Because they just want to be in favor. They just want to be able to have that access and, stand in front of. Listen, I worked in the gym with fighters and I treat them all the same, right? And talk to them the same. And sometimes they respect that even more because they realize that they're just human beings. But those guys who get to be in a position to feel a little full of themselves and things like that, they don't walk on a different ground than you do. It's good to just put it in there that, hey man, this is my observation. Are you going to get better? Are you going to look to improve? Are you going to look to tweak? Yeah. But listening to these guys talk, man, it's like, wow. It'd be different if you're being all-inclusive, but you're not. You're angling. Like they were complaining about there has been no face-off with Bud and Canelo with the opportunity, because Max Kellerman is going to be a part of this promotion when the event is broadcast or whatever. And they said, oh man, what a missed opportunity to have these two guys sit down. And, you know, Max, who, you know, used to do, listen, I'm not an advocate of them having brought Max back. Max is one of the most slanted, deceptively influencing personalities that the sport has seen. Knowing all the while that he would have access to real information and everything, would still push agendas. Yeah. So I'm glad they didn't do a face-off with him. I wish they hadn't even brought the dude back. Why did they do that? Who knows? But I'll tell you this. This promotion went on without a hitch and has gone a 360 of CANELO questioning Bud's resume, to talking about guys that Bud has fought that he doesn't know, to now he's even had a soundbite out there that said he's better than Floyd, which just goes to show you that it's all a bunch of foolishness when guys are talking about the sport and promoting. Remember, Bud was never that guy who would just talk and talk and promote himself like that with a gregarious representation of whom he is as a person and fighter. But he do all this talking in the ring. CANELO has learned to play the game because he's had people to come in and help him speak the English language better and things of that nature. But he's also become a brand representation that they put out there for a certain demographic. And I understand how that works. But you still have to see through and siphon through the trash, the BS. Yeah. Yeah, Dritch Richardson, those guys need to go away. They had their time of ruining and messing around in the sport. It's time for new blood, and it's time for fresh ideas. And see, that's what's important too. New blood and fresh ideas. Not guys who keep coming back saying the same old stuff. You see, because if a fighter's good, no matter where he comes from in the world, he needs to be promoted and spoken of as such. But when they just want someone to be a champ, they want someone to be the star, they want someone, and they keep telling you these falsehoods, and then you see the guys getting knocked from pillar to post and getting stopped and everything, and then they left holding their pants because they don't know what to say. Remember this whole fabled story behind Chocolatito, huh? Oh, he's pound for pound and this and that. And they put him in his debut on HBO and he gets knocked out. Great stuff, man. For the sexperts. And you know why I call them sexperts, right? That's because they have a homoerotic way of supporting these guys. Jim Lampley used to like screamed with orgasmic pleasure when he was calling Manny Pacquiao fights. It was ridiculous. I'm like, what is this dude doing? But the time when he was real quiet, when Juan Manuel Marquez showed Manny the touch of sleep, the only thing I can remember hearing is, he's not getting up, Jim. Yeah, how about that? Shout out to Roy Jones, He was awfully quiet then, wasn't he? Jim Lampley. Manny Pacquiao was just knocked out. Yeah, that's what we should have heard, With orgasmic pleasure. How about that? The OG, Mr. Mont, what's good with you? Good morning. Yeah, man, just, you know what? Listen, hearing these guys talk, they want to be on the side of being correct. That's why it's convenient to give us the cliches about size and everything. They even went into the thing about talking about Usyk versus Fury and saying, well, you know, Usyk has had time to adjust to the heavyweight division, consistently weighing 220 plus pounds, which means he's probably walking around at 240, blah, blah, blah. And they were talking about, as far as the skill set, you know, the heavyweights aren't as skilled, but Usyk is pretty skilled. And they used to drown us with the fabled, legendary descriptions of Tyson Fury being the most skilled heavyweight out there. Didn't they do that? Didn't we have to listen to that BS for years? Some of them even equating that Fury might be along the lines of Ali. Are you freaking kidding me? But the moment Usyk dismantles him, crickets. See your BS talking points, man. You're looking real foolish right about now. But I'm going to say this. Regardless of what they weighed on the scale when they got in the ring against one another, Usyk was very much a smaller guy than Tyson Fury. And Tyson Fury, who's been known to be upwards of 280 plus pounds against opponents, was totally outboxed by little bitty old Usyk, and was nearly knocked out in the first fight against Usyk. So where is that consideration for having boxing knowledge that a little guy can hurt a big guy? Evander Holyfield fought 3 fights with Riddick Bowe that were wars. And in the third fight, it had all the drama of the first 2 rolled into one when Holyfield knocked Bowe down with a left hook to the jaw, and Bowe fell in slow motion. Something no one had foreseen. And Bowe ends up stopping Holyfield and said after the fight, man, you were strong tonight. Where's that same kind of consideration for Terrence Bud Crawford? When you look at those two men, untrained, standing side to side, there's not much difference between them. There's a little bit of a height advantage for Bud. There's even arm length reach. That's an advantage. But the type of consideration for what you're looking at, who you're looking at, these content creators and sexperts can't fully put it all together because of what you're looking at. They don't put it all together. Steph Brown, what's good with you, bro? Good morning to you. OG Mr. Mont says Ali would have wiped his rear end. Yeah, man, listen. It's just amazing what they come up with and how they conceptualize, you know. And they got, you know, my thing that I get upset about, guys, is this. They have this huge platform, right? Hundreds of thousands of people watching. And they say this stuff, and there's no educating the masses. There's no like, hey, well, if you take time out and look into this, back before this present time, these are things that have transpired. As if smaller guys haven't always upset bigger guys. Sam Lankford was not the biggest guy in the world. Sam Lankford was about the size of James Toney and going in there beating up heavyweights, light heavyweights, whomever. But see, you don't hear that name very much, do you? Because they keep you ignorant. And let me show you more, an example of the hypocrisy of the ignorance being spread. They would tell you that Tyson Fury or Vasyl Lomachenko or Triple G and at one time Sergey Kovalev, all of these guys were equal to or as good as any of the black greats in boxing, right? But why were they always compared to the black greats? Because the blacks were great. Huh? That's exactly it right there. You don't hear them comparing them to Rocky Marciano. You don't hear them comparing them to James Jeffries. This is a bunch of foolishness, people. And we see it so much. And see, I can come on my little platform and tell the truth. You don't hear those names. Listen, Crawford and CANELO are two fighters that are going to fight this Saturday, and both have something to prove. CANELO has to prove that he can hold his position and not let a so-called perceived smaller guy move up to his division and take what he has accrued. Huh? Bud wants to shut up the naysayers. desires to be a 3-time undisputed champion with one successful win. With that, he's already going to be in the history books. But with a victory, he will cement himself in this present day era, and he would shut up so many people, pundits, odds that he's been bucking for the bulk of his career. For some fighters, it's more than about the money. The money helps make it happen. But sometimes, as Ali once said, you have to find keys to motivate yourself. You have to find a reason to get up and run in those early morning hours, or train and toil in the gym late into your days, and be separated from your families for extended periods of time. Something to fight for. And both of these men have something to fight for. But I just believe that beneath the surface, there are differences for both men that will factor into the fight on fight night. Those intangibles are what these content creators are not talking about, because they don't understand that it's not always what you see before you. It's the unseen. What burns, boils beneath the surface of fighters to make them competitive enough to go out there and wage a war and a battle for something that is unimagined. That's what you're going to get. That's what you're going to get. My breakdown will be premiering on Friday. But it's really fun listening to these people and their thoughts and how short-sighted they are, how limited they are with their knowledge of the sport. And just because you're able to have access to stick a microphone in a fighter's face in present day doesn't mean you're versed. Just because you might spend some time in a gym where a fighter is training and have that type of access doesn't mean you know what the hell is going on. So there's plenty to work with. I just thought I would come out here this morning and talk about things a little bit, you know. But I have reached my destination, people. And I appreciate all of you who have tuned in. And I wish you all a blessed day ahead. Shout out to the mighty LDBC. And we done.